2, 1. Hey, welcome everybody. I'm so excited today because we've got two, not just one, two superstars, two
Two in one.
matrix imprinting traders from the other side of the pond. You know, that big pond that I have to fly over. So I'm going to pass you over to Alina and Craig, and I'd like you to introduce yourself, the double duo in
Okay.
America.
Who should start? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
I guess I'll start.
Okay, you start.
So Alina Frank, Alina rhymes with Nina, but people butcher that all the time. It's okay. I don't mind. I go by any of those. So I have been doing EFT for approximately almost 19 years as a trainer, and I was originally trained and certified by Gary Craig, and had been doing EFT for about 10 years when people were saying, have you tried this matrix reimprinting thing? And I was like, I do inner child work. I do mix my stuff with quantum physics. I do all this other stuff, I do all of that. And then a friend of mine who knew better said, you sound like someone that hasn't actually experienced it. And I said, you're right. Okay, let me be more open-minded than that. We were at a conference. She takes me back to her room. She does matrix with me. And I was on the phone with Carl the next day saying, okay, I need to train in this. I need to offer this, because I truly felt at that moment, once I experienced it for myself, that an EFT education is not complete without matrix reimprinting.
Yeah.
And so I love it. It's changed my life. And my students, once they learn it, bam, they just use it on nearly every session as well. Such a great modality.
Before we come to Craig, I want to, because your book, How to Want Sex Again.
Yes.
I mean, this is basically, it's like Ron Seal, isn't it? You get what's in the tin. It's so concise.
Oh, thank you.
And brilliant.
Thank you.
I mean, that's really what you specialize in.
Yeah, it was before I stopped working with private clients to just do training and mentoring and certification. That's what I specialized in, is helping mostly women with relationship issues, but specifically around sex and intimacy. And so it took a lot of tapping to put myself out there, nice little Catholic girl talking about sex on the internet and in a book and revealing it all. But it was well worth it, and it was really well received. Became bestseller. And then this last year we wrote 2 books. We wrote a personal peace procedure journal, and we also wrote Tapping into Success for Marketing and Business. So yeah, now we've got a little library going here.
Yeah, and both of you, because Craig, darling, you're a doctor.
Hi. Yeah.
You're a doctor.
What's a little DR? So basically take everything Alina said and subtract about 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, and before that, and still actually continuing on the other side of the computer that you could see, is I still do part-time chiropractic. It's been 33 years now, which is a crazy number to say out loud, but anyway, it has been. So that's just informed me running a private practice. And so, training, mentoring, we're, really involved with that. And, I stepped up this year. I'm very involved with EFT International. I'm the chair of the board with that. So I'm very involved with, sharing the word of EFT around the world through that charity, and through Meta, and through, so I mean, bringing a physical perspective on EFT, matrix reimprinting, all of that. So, our life is pretty balanced. I once said that I really wanted my life to be a balance, or my career to be a balance of like 1/3 teaching, 1/3 hands-on, 1/3 tapping, and just it's a balance of all of those, which makes it really always alive and interesting and fun. And in the before times, we did a lot of traveling.
In the before
times, we did lots and lots of traveling, and then we did purely sit in front of our computer screen. And now it's finding a balance again.
Yeah.
Like I'm I got a matrix reimprinting training coming up in Toronto, and we go to Canada once a month. So, and we were in Barcelona.
Yeah.
So we're at that balance between kind of teaching online and teaching in person, and some travel, and not as much as we used to, and that's fine.
I mean, during COVID era, we made it work. We rented like an event tent and brought in filtration systems and all this kind of stuff to be able to continue to teach matrix, because matrix reimprinting has that as a rule that you have to teach it in person. And I think that, well, I know people really appreciated that.
Yeah.
That there was
Coming
still
together
a connection with a live person, because the energy is very different. And so it was nice to have that, even though most of our stuff was done online, to be able to do that and to continue that. And people love it. People just love being together again.
Yeah. And I think you brought up a really great thing about Matrix. So many people think, well, I'm a regressive hypnotherapist, I'm an NLPer, I'm this, I'm that, I'm trained in that. And I think the beauty with Matrix, well, what are the highlights of Matrix for you guys, rather than me thinking?
I'm just thinking of somebody right now that's a practitioner, only because I was doing mentoring yesterday. And it was actually after the second time they took Matrix.
Yeah.
And they said, I am finally feeling more comfortable working with trauma.
Right.
Like it really, like I knew I should, I knew
after
I
like
could.
10 years of being, into tapping.
And just there's this, because of the creativity, because of the playfulness, because it feels, I mean, this is my interpretation of what they were saying, but of less doing something to somebody else and allowing something to unfold and holding a safe container. They felt more comfortable and safer to go to areas that were still appropriate for them to go to. And so that's a big piece. I want to also say that at the beginning, when I'm teaching somebody Matrix, it feels like there's a lot of learning and a lot of steps. I mean, it does at the beginning. And then I say, and at some point after that, then it'll feel like you're doing less and you're not doing anything anymore, because the client is doing it all and you're just facilitating that. And so there is this, and there's also this, even more than EFT, there is a uniqueness that I have no expectation what's going to happen in a session. It's always a surprise. It's always different.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's so much more, but those are just some of the elements.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know about you, too, but I think I'm not as old school as Alina. I didn't train with Gary. I trained with multiple people until I met Carl. But I love in your book, just come back to the book. I don't have your other two books. I feel really bad. I know. Note to self: do your research before you jump on a call. Is that you talk about in 2005 or 2006? Gary was the mainstream tapper, Gary Craig.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when you wrote the book, which is quite a while ago now, 260,000 little feeds coming up on when you Google EFT and tapping.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's the blessing and the curse. I really see it that way. There are a lot of people that are out there promoting EFT. Some of them had very little EFT experience, and they just are really good marketers. And so we saw, because in the beginning, Gary was very generous with his open hand policy. Here, do what you want with it and all of that. And so that the blessing was that it went out to so many people, millions and millions of people learned of this tapping thing, but that's not EFT. And so there, and the beauty of Matrix is that it forces the practitioner to find specific events, So if right now I have, I was dealing with the issue that brought me to EFT. I was desperate after 12 years of having health challenges. And if this was my mindset, if I had gone today with that idea of like, let me find something to help me, and I heard about this tapping thing, and I typed in EFT and autoimmune illness or autoimmune disease. And I found a tapping script or a tap along, or here, let me just go through this three rounds and you're good. I would have thrown it on the heap of all the things that didn't work for me. But I got it from the horse's mouth directly that we work on specific events. And the specific event for me were all the events that had to do with my stillborn. Because 6 months before I was diagnosed, that's the trauma that I experienced. So it's I love that about Matrix is you have to do it that way. You have to do it that way. And it just kind of underscores just like the importance of that and Gary Craig's little motto, in order to be terrific, you got to be specific. Over and over again, that's what we go back to, even when the client isn't aware of what it is, not consciously. We'll get there with Matrix in a very elegant way.
Yeah, it's so much grace in it that, and what I think also, people think, oh, I've read the book and now there's 2 books and they're slightly different because, and we're evolving Matrix constantly.
Yes.
That what I love about it is that we're dealing with trauma outside the body.
Yep.
I think that is just so graceful when we're dealing with trauma.
It's incredibly gentle.
Yeah.
And it also becomes, I don't want to say less of, but I do, less of a focus of what happened and more about the lens that the person adopted as a result of that, of the world, of their worldview about themselves and the world and their beliefs. And I truly believe, not that EFT doesn't work on beliefs, because that's not true, but I think the focus and the kernel and the bullseye of EFT is about the worldview that's adopted as a result of those adverse experiences in one's life and the limiting beliefs. And that affects everything. So the power of that focus, to me, is just so gently and easily facilitated.
You meant Matrix.
I meant Matrix. Thank you for catching that. Yeah, I didn't hear what I said.
That's why we teach together.
Like, so good. Right, look at that. Okay, course correction. Yeah, and through Matrix, really, that focus, I still think is one of the most powerful pieces of that creation. There's, and also, of course, there will always be out there when you're working with memories, that kind of idea. It's like, oh, don't change a memory. You can't change a memory. It's not authentic. It's not honest. It's not real. I mean, I understand the point of view. I do. I get it. Except the truth is that we are always changing our perception and our recall and our memory. We are always constantly changing. Our brain is constantly perceiving things differently as we evolve. So this is just doing it volitionally. This is just working with our perspective on things that happened. And that perspective allows us to see the world differently, in a really gentle, powerful way, transformative way. So, and there's something about the field of, I don't know why, something about the field, but it's just like in a workshop on a topic, it's just, you should expect something interesting to happen, more than just something cognitive, more than something that's just explainable. It just taps into something spacious and something transformative and something even a little magical and a little woo, and with still being very grounded in the neuroscience of what we're doing. Anyway,
there's so much about the brain, isn't there, and the mind, and the whole neuroplasticity of our brain. We know that memories are 99% bullshit. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, I don't know if I could document that anywhere in the research, but I get where you're going with that. Is that memories are not facts. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Yeah. I was less scientific than being less factual. Just bullshit. I know that by speaking to my sister, and I go, "Oh my God, that was the worst day of my life," and she goes, "Oh no, that was just a beautiful day. Everybody was laughing."
Where was I?
Well, I was crying.
Yeah.
No, you were there. You were laughing too. Not in my mind.
Oh yeah. Fascinating.
Yeah. And yet we think we know, right? I mean, We live from the beliefs we have exist like facts. Like that's the way it happened. I was there and somebody else videotaped it and it wasn't, and yet we live like they're true. And so I think there's something about Matrix that also allows us to have permission to see things differently, to see it from multiple points of view, to have options and choices about how we view and relate to ourselves, things, God, universe, relationship, money, whatever, our health,
Our ancestors.
our ancestors.
Yeah.
I think it's that pausing place that allows us to kind of, you remember the old Etch-a-Sketch? Remember those?
Yes,
They're like,
yeah.
you know, where it's like you get to shake it again, and it's like, okay, let's draw this in a different way now. It seemed so permanent before, but it's not.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask each of you, do you have a little weird story about Matrix and your own personal experience, or on a training that you've run?
So, I mean, we all of us trainers have experienced the fascinating phenomenon of having working with someone and in the training, and then you hear from them the next week and said the people that were involved in that memory have contacted them again, and they're speaking terms again. People have asked forgiveness for things that happened 40 years ago, like that all I mean, it is so magical. However, we just like take it like par for the course. Yeah, that's what we do. Things that I have, yeah. So for me personally, just the beauty of reconnecting with my little one again, and knowing how amazing and playful and not so serious. I used to think of myself as being so serious when I was young, and I actually have like a newfound appreciation for my younger girl who wants to be playing more. And in the last 3 years, I've really listened to that and have said, okay, I want to play. I want to make clay, ceramics. I want to bake bread. And so it's really been fun to engage that part of myself. One of the trippiest was when I sat down to work with a gentleman in the training, and when we got to the scene that we're working on, and his little boy's in a bunk bed comes down to connect with him, and first words out of his echo were, "I've been waiting for you and Alina to come for so long." Oh, mind blowing, like full body chills, like, okay, this is it. This is melding of time, space, reality here. Another one was I was working with a woman who I had done EFT with her on a sexual assault. And I came back from Matrix, and I said, we must do this as well. And at the end, she opens her eyes and she says, okay, so when I was actually experiencing that when I was 17 years old, I wanted to leave. I wanted to die. I said, God, beam me up, Scotty. I am done with this planet. I need to get out of here. And what I remember of that moment was, and I've always, kept it in a real sacred place, is that there was a being that came to me, and I always thought of it as this white angel that came, held my hand during that time so that I could live and continue my life. And now I know it wasn't an angel. Now I know it was my future self today going back there to help me then. Woo! Yeah.
And I think the other key point here is Therese is so key, that people think that we're denying the trauma, and we're not in Matrix.
No.
No.
We're not at all. And but as Craig so eloquently said, we're changing the perceptions of that survival moment, of that great overt or covert trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the ones that do stand out are probably the more traumatic ones than what happened every day. So I want to say that they're not all like that, and they're not all to that extent, but those are the ones that stand out probably. And I'm just thinking, the kinds of really traumatic moments, the being attacked by dogs, the sexual assault. I mean, they stand out because often they're just so dramatic. But they're not every day. But what I would say is, I remember one distinctly that was a childhood sexual assault. And, the work we did at the end was really, there's something about also the Matrix that can often find kind of a spiritual sense of connection and peace because of what happened. That so often I'm doing EFT and working, tell the story and other techniques that we then move to Matrix to kind of really put it together, to get that final piece together.
Yeah.
And for that woman, when she was a child, she's like, I just needed to know that I'm more than my body. And yes, this happened to my body, but God needed me to know that I'm so much more than just that. And that was the piece that closed it for them. Or the person that was attacked by a dog, and it was like the arrangement and contract that she had with the spirit of the dog that had to do with the meaning of the purpose in her life and her career as a result of what happened. That's right. So, that really more metaphysical, spiritual piece, lesson, learning that really draws and kind of puts a bow on what takes something traumatic and turns that into that post-traumatic, not just resilience, but post-traumatic growth when they're ready to go there. Not anything we ever force upon them.
Exactly. I want to emphasize that because I think often some new age techniques out there, they do, and it's like a catchword of the day is spiritual bypassing, where we're going to say everything was for my highest and greatest. No, this comes directly from the core of the client feeling that way on every level. And that's the beauty, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really go into that spiritual bypassing for what I'm observing. There's a lot of, I'm doing the courses, but actually people are attending courses. There's so many courses for $7, $15, $100. They are attending and watching through their own lens, thinking, oh yeah, we know that.
Yeah.
But I feel that Matrix, you really truly embody it. If you attend in life, in person, it's very challenging to have a spiritual bypass.
Right. Yeah. You
don't have a
can't, I mean,
choice.
and here's an example. So sometimes in the first demo, people are like, oh, I can't go up there. So we say, okay, forget it. I'm gonna work on Craig.
Oh, those are always tough.
And we always think, make it up.
And you start off kind of making it up-ish. Like, okay, I don't know, fine. I'm a kid that's dealing with this and this happened. And all of a sudden, I mean, every time, and it's like, and the class is like, is this like, are they making, this is real. And it goes there. It just is amazing how that happens.
And then,
all the time.
And then we always laugh at the end because one of the resources is what does little Craig want? And I'm like, I'm telling the crowd, like,
don't assume. Yeah,
I could have written it on the board.
Yeah, it's going.
Mocha chip ice cream
course.
from Friendly's. Yeah, there we go. That's exactly what he wants.
Almost always.
So that's fun. There is no hiding. People know, like, oh wow, I'm really, I'm going to learn this. No, I'm going to, like you said, embody it. I'm really going to live it. I am going to change in this workshop.
Yeah, it really is. The experiential part. And I want to say, because EFT training, there's just a lot to cover and a lot to learn. And it's honestly why it's so important that people have a strong EFT background before they take Matrix. There's a lot to learn there. But when they get to the Matrix, the experiential element and watching those dyads and watching and having them come back and talk about just their experience in the half hour that they just had that Matrix experience right in there, and then to just encourage them to keep practicing and keep practicing and keep practicing.
It's life-changing. It really is.
Yeah. And I think that life-changing for such a short time, but to repeat it and repeat it, not to simply just repeat it, but there's a new learning every time.
Because every time.
As you said, it's metaphysical.
Yes.
I mean, I'll be honest, you know, and we taught things differently, right? Back 10 years ago or so.
Yeah,
And
things have evolved.
it took like 3 trainings before I felt like I can do this as a demo. Like there was a whole level of but at the beginning it was a bit intimidating and I don't know. I just think that as an organization and as trainers, we've really worked to simplify so that it's much more digestible and accessible and usable quicker
Mhm.
now than it used to be as well.
Yeah, but it's all goes back to trusting the process. And when you're new to something, you rely on your knowledge, and this is more organic.
Right.
And so going that mantra, trust the process,
What
when you're
needs-
like, oh, what needs to happen?
What needs to happen?
And
Trust the
asking that,
process.
yeah, that's it. That's it. We could just distill it to 2 sentences, the matrix reimprinting process as the practitioner, trust the process
And what needs to happen.
and what needs to happen. There you go.
There you go. That's it. That's all Matrix is.
Yeah. How fabulous is that? Well, you two are rocking it in America. And
Thank you for having me.
I don't know where to point, but somewhere on this video, there will be all your details.
Okay.
Okay.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I'm not very techie. I'm definitely not on
Okay.
TikTok, am I? But, and I think from my perspective, what you two bring is, you're a couple. You're a married couple, and you're working together and training together.
It's
and
fun. It makes
doing
it fun.
and making ceramics together. Not that I stalk you on Facebook. I do. Would you say that EFT and Matrix have any part to do in you being able to do this?
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. We absolutely are living our best life, and I attribute it all to EFT and Matrix.
Well,
Yeah.
what am I gonna have?
And we're going to celebrate our 14th wedding anniversary
Next
in a few
week.
days.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
there you go.
how wonderful.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Not good, not bad for second time around, huh?
No. What's 14? What do you get? Do you get something special?
Oh God,
I don't
we're like the
know.
last person in the
No.
podcast about
No,
something special.
Yeah.
Yes, whatever it is,
Every
it's
day,
special.
every day is special.
There you
Oh,
go.
look at you, cliched little.
You know what? It's funny when we're doing a lot of work around relationship. Kind of the secret was, I don't know what to tell people. It's just easy. Like, you know, and it's
Easy and choosing well makes all the difference in the world. However, preparing for that,
yes, was hard.
it took for me EFT and Matrix to just get rid of all of the destructive
baggage.
patterns and all of that. For sure.
Well,
It was hard. Now it's easy.
yeah, you two are living proof, and I'm so pleased that you've taken time out to hop on a call with me all the way from the beautiful US of A.
Thanks for the invitation
Thank
and
you.
taking the time to do this with all the
Absolutely.
trainers. It's, I think, just being able to reach, there's this level, I just have this intention. You know, we say that like EFT has reached millions of people and millions of downloads. Like, it's that time for Matrix Reimprinting. It really is. It's that time.
That tipping point.
Yeah.
Yeah, as Malcolm Gladwell, you know how my memory is a bit glitchy, says, but that tipping point is so close because it's such a simple technique, and safety is key. And with trainers like you, we're going to do that.
And you.
And you. Hello. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for all the work that you're doing,
Yeah,
Penny.
appreciate that so much.
Thank you. Lots of gratitude. So I'm going to stop now and just say goodbye to you.
Bye.
Bye.